Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. In commemoration of the upcoming Wonder Woman 1984, I'm binging the DCEU, from Man of Steel to Shazam, because I've already seen Birds of Prey. Well, I've already seen Man of Steel, so let's check out the sequel. When this first came out, I was actually pretty excited for it. I thought Man of Steel laid down a pretty solid foundation for Warner Brothers to work from. Prior to the release or even the announcement of BVS, I had wild ideas of where they would go with a sequel. Since MOS was so heavily linked to Christopher Nolan, the man did produce it, I figured Man of Steel 2 would stick to that kind of formula that Nolan created. The first movie would be about introducing a bad guy that would help establish the rules of the hero, and the sequel would introduce their biggest arch nemesis. That villain would make them challenge their rules and possibly make the hero think that this is the one person where the rules need to be broken for. I had these wild ideas that the story would be about Lex fixing Metropolis in the aftermath of Superman's fight with General Zod. Superman would be trying to help rebuild. Some people see him as a hero, but others reject him. But here comes Lex Luthor, pretending to be Superman's friend, even defending the Man of Steel, knowing that Superman's image would do his own image some good, as a man of the people. Superman stops an evil threat, who the hell knows what, but Superman finds out that Lex is the one behind the threat. Superman confronts Lex about what he knows and threatens to tell people with the proof in his hands. But Lex calmly smirks at Supes and tells him he won't do it. Why? Because look at all the good that Lex is doing. Rebuilding schools so kids can go back. Rebuilding police stations, hospitals, fire departments, parks, employing tens, hundreds of thousands of people. Donating much of his wealth to programs that will keep families from starving. Lex is seen as a hero too. Supes stopped the physical threat, so he's back in the good graces of the people, but should Supes reveal what he knows, all the good that Lex did will be burned away. Construction will stop. Lex manages to find a way to make sure that if he goes down, he takes more than just his reputation with him. Everyone loses. Instead, Supes should take his hand, walk out onto the balcony, and together wave to their adoring crowd who perceives them as both heroes, and Superman reluctantly agrees, ensuring that this villain was going to stick around and be a thorn in his side for years to come. Maybe this would eventually lead to those stories of how Lex became a politician, even the President of the United States. After all, Lex is supposed to be one of the most ingenious villains of the DC universe. The sequel had me hyped before it was even announced. And then it was announced. And all my hopes and dreams were shattered. Batman vs. Superman? Why? Batman hasn't had his own movie yet? Lex Luthor is being played by Jesse Eisenberg? What the hell is going on right now? Look, I know Batman and Superman have fought before. The world's finest cartoon is one of the greatest animated crossovers of all time. It is definitely my personal favorite. But if this is going to happen, it needs to happen in the right way. Did it? Well, for the longest time, I declared Batman vs. Superman as the worst of the DCEU films. Let's see if that still holds up. Now, I do have to preface this review one more time. I'm about to review the Ultimate Edition, which is what many have considered to be the better version of this movie. Let's see if that helps my experience any. This is my honest opinion of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Set 18 months after the events of Man of Steel, the world is grappling with how it feels with Superman, played by Henry Cavill, who is also wrestling with the world's perception of him. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, played by Ben Affleck, is hunting down a dangerous criminal for unknown reasons. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor, played by Jesse Eisenberg, is plotting against both Superman and Batman, preparing for a clash that they don't yet know is coming. I still hate it. Christ, I feel like I owe an apology to Man of Steel for giving shit about how complex that story was. This is worse. Far worse. And to anyone who says that the Ultimate Edition is the better version, it's not. Not by much. It's an extra half hour slapped onto an already bloated runtime. Fucking waste of a good idea, man. I barely want to be even half comprehensive about this thing. So little effort was put into the writing that I feel like dissecting this and really trying to get into this movie's guts is giving it attention that it really doesn't deserve. The story makes no sense. I honestly don't even know where to begin with it. That opening terrorist scene was orchestrated by Lex. Why? I don't even know what happened that made the world mad at Supes for saving Lois. What, because he didn't save everybody? Suddenly his motives are in question? And Lex knew that Lois would find that super special bullet? And that special bullet would lead her to him? He knew that too? And all of that just in service of throwing Lois off of a building to get Superman's attention? Why not just kidnap Lois and save yourself the resources and time? Hell, that's exactly what he does in the end anyway. All in the name of forcing Superman to fight and kill Batman, or else his mom will die. Also, how did Lex even find out about Supes' secret identity? I understand the joke that Clark's glasses magically make him so that no one would recognize him as Superman, but in universe, this is how it's always worked. And he discovers everyone's secret identity off screen. We never learn how he did it. Just a heads up, I'm mostly going to be focusing on Lex because this is infuriating. Why does Lex hate Superman? You can spew all manner of religious or otherwise famous quotes from various sources, and you can tell me all day long that he's simply afraid of him. But all of that is thin reasoning. Not to mention, it doesn't make him relatable. Hell, it's not even all that clear as to whether or not he wants Superman dead or to validate that he's better than the Boy Scout. But weirdly enough, devil's advocate, I don't think Jesse Eisenberg is inherently a bad choice for Lex Luthor. Make no mistake, Bryan Cranston was the obvious and smartest choice they didn't go with. Lex was always an imposing figure, broad shoulders, in addition to an even greater mind. He is, after all, one of DC's greatest villains, and is often considered to be Superman's arch nemesis. But Social Network exists, and Eisenberg knows how to play a cold and ruthless genius. Had the material been acceptable, then this would have worked in its own way, if his performance was quiet, calculating, and otherwise not so over the top. Anyone who said that his performance was a discount Joker from The Dark Knight is absolutely correct. I love Jesse Eisenberg as an actor, but I really hated his performance in this movie. From one rage to another, Batman vs. Superman. How can that possibly be fucked up? There is a fundamental misunderstanding of why fans would want to see that happen. It's because we know these characters. They have the same goals, but go about it in wildly different ways. Depending on the story, you can even argue that they go about it in exactly the same way. Superman and Batman can equally be about stopping the bad guys as well as saving them. The difference being that Superman has to hold back his punches, whereas Batman ain't afraid to cause pain. Between the two heroes, there's an equal amount of similarities and differences, and that's what makes their team-ups and clashes so compelling. The problem with this movie is that it doesn't understand that. It just wanted an excuse to throw these characters into the same room and duke it out. Context be damned, which is incredibly disrespectful to the source material and the fans of that source material. This movie needed a solo Batman flick to establish his character, and then you break out the versus story. You can convince me that the fight itself is cool. I don't agree. It's actually kind of silly at times, but the whole fight is contrived because Superman doesn't outright say, "Hey, Lex kidnapped my mom. I need your help. One of my all-time hated cliches is characters that just can't say what they need to say. And the writers just hide behind lines like, "You don't understand. Let me explain." There's no reason why that fight should have happened. But even more baffling than that is how it ends. Now let me be fully honest here. I used to be okay with this. The revelation that Bruce and Clark's mothers have the same name. It was a fun connection that I never realized until this movie made it for me. At the time, I also adopted the belief that because Batman realized that Superman has a mother, this puts his own motivations into question. If he had a mother, that means he was a child. He was raised. If he kills Superman, he's taking a mother's child away, and that makes him just as bad, if not worse, than the murderer who killed his parents. That was the justification I made for this movie and stuck with it for 4 years. I now abandon that belief because there's nothing in this movie that justifies it. Excuses can be made on behalf of a movie all day long, but until it's reinforced by something the story presents, be it subtle or explicitly stated, then that's all they are. Excuses. The truth I'd learned, which was a truth that was there the entire time since the day I first walked out of that movie theater all those years ago, the truth is, it's just terrible and silly writing. That's another subject I wanted to talk about, Batman. Now, Affleck as the Dark Knight was never a bad casting choice. He was fine. His performance was fine. The brutal beatdowns and the action scenes in general were fine. But Batman as a character... Look, I don't read the comics. I don't know how committed Batman is to his no-killing rule. I generally believe that if you're going to make a Batman movie, that rule is pretty important. But if he's going to kill, you need to make that make sense. Oh sure, you can show me that desecrated Robin suit all day long and tell me that's why, but that's not enough. You can't just change a character that's been around since 1939 and completely change him without some explanation. I have no problem with Batman killing, but it needs context. And that is a story that needs its own time in the sun. And that's why it doesn't work here. It's just edgy for the sake of being edgy. Last but not least, Doomsday. Obvious joke out of the way, he looks like a cave troll from Lord of the Rings. I was saying that all those years ago when I first watched the movie. To my delight, the internet made that connection as well. But seriously, what a waste. There's only one story where using Doomsday is appropriate, and that's the death of Superman. The whole point of Superman fighting Doomsday is that this takes everything he's got. You see how battered and beaten he gets throughout that fight until he makes the ultimate sacrifice to bring down the monster. Doomsday is an iconic baddie, yet he's treated like how Sony treated Venom in Spider-Man 3. And sheesh, people were complaining about the final fight scene in Wonder Woman. Just 2 more reviews and we'll get there. By the way, there was no reason to launch that nuke at Doomsday. Superman had the monster in space. Throw him really hard in any direction, and I promise you, fight over. Yet again, contrived reasons to keep the movie going. Is it time to see Wonder Woman yet? The ultimate problem with this movie is how unfocused it is. I hate to parrot the Nostalgia Critic review, but it's true. This movie is trying to be Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, the death of Superman, with hints of Death in the Family, the Flashpoint Paradox, and even Injustice. It spends so much time trying to establish a universe rather than tell a compelling solo story. I browsed YouTube and I'm seeing quite a few videos of people who have respect for it and why I love BVS, and I just don't know how. No, I haven't watched these videos. I hope to do so in time when I've got a cooler head because I want to know how anyone could respect this. And maybe I'll get a new perspective that I hadn't considered. But this, as of right now, is a train wreck of a movie. But it must be asked, did this movie do anything right? Yeah, a couple things. Wonder Woman downright saved it toward the end. Jeremy Irons comes in a close second with how he manages to set a dark-ass tone with his speeches, as well as his practical function with helping Batman in a fight, feeding him tactical information, very reminiscent of how Bruce Wayne communicated with Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond. I like some of the more intellectual conversations this movie has about Superman's role in the world, what his presence means, how divisive of a figure he is, and how many people don't like him and his actions come at a cost. These are legit compelling points. And even though Doomsday is an utter joke, the wanton destruction is very much what I would want to see. You know, in a better movie. So yeah, there are a couple of elements that work. But as a complete package, not at all. This is a heartbreaking disappointment. It's just obvious what it is. A rush job to catch up to the MCU. But they don't want to put in the same effort and invest the same time as the MCU took. Unfocused, takes its dark material way too far, highly pretentious at times, if not a majority of the time, and it's just only gotten worse since the last time I saw it. Sure, I can give credit where credit is due. This isn't, objectively speaking, the worst superhero movie that was ever made. But with such potential behind it, I will just never be able to agree with anyone who says that they like it. If you do, more power to ya, but I don't agree. I don't like this movie. It hurts too much. My honest rating for Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, a weak 3 out of 5. And we are going to comfortably place this beneath Man of Steel. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Please wear a mask if you go out. Hope to see you soon.